Hey guys, tonight we drift out into the desert night, where the horizon glows faintly and the stars are just beginning to appear, one by one, like cautious sparks against an indigo sky. You hear the shuffle of a caravan settling in, camels groaning, ropes tightening, and a warm breeze carrying the smell of dust and spice. Above it all you notice something faint and strange, a pale triangular shimmer rising upward from the horizon, delicate as a whisper. This is the Zodiacal light, an ancient glow that has puzzled skywatchers for millennia. And tonight it's going to be your quiet companion. You find yourself standing at the edge of a desert, sand crunching softly beneath your sandals. The air is cooling after a long, punishingly bright day. Heat still lingers in the dunes, radiating upward in little ghostly shimmers, but overhead the sky is opening itself like a velvet curtain. Slowly, one by one, stars begin to prick their way through. You tilt your head back, and the horizon glows with the faintest smear of twilight, an aftertaste of the sun that has just slipped away. It's vast, it's quiet, and honestly, you probably won't survive this if you forgot to pack water. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, if you're listening in some unexpected corner of the world, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where everyone is tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stand beside a caravan of weary camels, the animals stamping the sand with their padded feet, restless as the desert shifts into night. Traders fuss with bundles, their voices hushed, as though raising them might disturb the heavy presence of the stars. The horizon stretches flat, and there is no tree, no wall, no comfort of shadowed buildings, just the dome of sky widening above you. As the last traces of orange bleed into deep indigo, the desert begins its nighttime transformation. The desert at night isn't silent, it sighs. You hear the faint crackle of cooling sand, the brush of cloth, the rhythmic gurgle of a camel's complaint. The caravan master calls softly, and his voice carries farther than you expect in this open land. Against this soundscape, you lift your gaze and notice how the sky seems layered. Bright pinpoint stars above and near the horizon, an almost imperceptible band of light. It doesn't move like a star. It doesn't twinkle like Venus. It's just there, like someone brushed a faint chalk triangle into the sky. This is your first encounter with the Zodiacal light. Ancient people saw it too, though they didn't always have a neat name for it. Sometimes it was thought to be a pathway, perhaps for souls, perhaps for gods. Astronomers today will tell you it's sunlight scattering off tiny interplanetary dust particles drifting between Mars and Jupiter. That's the mainstream fact. Your planet is messier than you think, and the solar system is full of crumbs left behind from forming planets, colliding asteroids, and stray comets. But not everyone agreed on that back in the day. Some ancient observers thought it was a reflection from Earth itself, or even a faint extension of the Milky Way, like a ghostly cousin that got left behind. Even now, astronomers still argue whether the majority of this dust comes from Jupiter family, comets or asteroid collisions. You'd think we'd have dust sorted out by now, but no. It's one of those cosmic mysteries still floating around, literally. The glow lingers low, delicate and pale, often drowned out by modern city light. But here in the desert, with the Milky Way arching like spilled salt overhead, the Zodiacal light is clear. It stretches upward, a wedge-shaped beam pointing straight along the path of the planets. You glance back at the caravan. A few traders notice it too. One whispers a short prayer as though asking the sky for a safe passage tomorrow. Another spits casually into the sand, unimpressed. It's just dust after all. Your eyes adjust and you notice how the sand itself seems to echo the stars, each tiny ridge catching faint starlight. If you walk a little farther from the camels, you hear only the crunch of your own steps. The horizon expands with every pace. The glow of Zodiacal light grows more insistent, not brighter exactly, but more undeniable. Like a whisper you can't quite ignore. It's not much, really. Just a band of dust reflecting sunlight. Yet in the stillness of the desert, It feels monumental. An ancient, unspoken connection between earth and sky. And of course you realize this is a terrible camping spot if you're hoping for sleep. Camels smell. Sand sneaks into everything. And you definitely forgot bug spray. But still, you can't shake the feeling that you're standing inside a story written not on paper, but across the heavens. The desert does not forgive fools, but it does reward those who know how to listen. You shuffle onward with the caravan, your sandals kicking up a dust that clings to your ankles like flour. The glow you saw earlier, the zodiacal light, lingers, faintly behind you now, fading as the camels grunt and shift their weight. You remember hearing once that this light is nothing more than sunlight, bouncing off ancient dust, floating through the solar system. Romantic, isn't it? Billions of tiny particles, shed from comets and battered asteroids, drifting endlessly between planets. They've been there for eons, older than any caravan track, and yet here they are, making your night stroll slightly prettier. You squint upward, trying to trace the faint triangle. Astronomers even today argue whether this dust band is thick enough to account for all of the glow, or whether some other faint processes add to the effect. Some swear it's purely mechanical, sunlight on dust. Others suggest faint whispers of solar wind or electric charging may be involved. You don't get a vote, of course. You're just walking under it, waiting for your next rest stop, and maybe some figs. But still, you can't help but imagine yourself wrapped inside a galactic lampshade, the dust scattering starlight like glitter in the air. A camel huffs beside you, almost as if it disapproves of your daydreaming. The driver mutters something that probably translates to, "Keep moving." You adjust your robe and keep pace, letting the desert horizon stretch endlessly before you. The Milky Way arches overhead, faint at first, then swelling into clarity, as your eyes adapt. And just as you're adjusting to its majesty, you remember something else. There are parts of the world where people hardly see stars anymore. City skylines, endless neon, satellite trails slicing through constellations. It's enough to make you wish for this dustier, quieter view every night. You remind yourself that ancient astronomers, especially in these desert regions, didn't just notice the zodiacal light. They incorporated it into their timekeeping. The glow rises before the dawn, hinting at the coming sun, and so caravans often used it as a gentle alarm clock. Imagine that. No iPhone, no buzzing alarm, just a triangle of space dust whispering, "Get up, your camels are hungry." Oddly efficient, even if you're not a morning person. And here comes a quirky tidbit. Some medieval scholars thought the glow was a kind of atmospheric fire, like a flame licking the sky from Earth's own exhalations. You picture Aristotle furrowing his brow, muttering about cosmic vapors, and it's charmingly wrong, you don't blame them. Even now, scientists admit they don't know every detail about how wide, tall, or even permanent the zodiacal dust band is. It's as if the solar system forgot to tidy up, left crumbs on the cosmic table, and we're still arguing over how big the mess really is. You trip slightly on a loose stone. Don't worry, you survived this one too. And a fellow traveler steadies you. "Eyes on the ground," he mutters, though you can't resist glancing skyward again. The light is softer now, the angle shifting. You wonder what it must have felt like hundreds of years ago for a lonely traveler to watch it and think, the sky is giving me directions. No GPS, no maps folded the wrong way. Just a faint dusty shimmer telling you east from west, dawn from midnight. The wind picks up, carrying the rattle of date palm leaves from a distant oasis. You tuck your scarf tighter, settling into the rhythm of footsteps, camel grunts, and your own heart beating calmly. You're under a glow made of ancient collisions, forgotten comets, and the faintest touch of sunlight, stretched thin across the emptiest spaces you can imagine. Not a bad companion for a slow night march, even if your feet are starting to feel like overcooked flatbread. The caravan halts at last, the camels kneeling with groans that sound older than the desert itself. You drop down onto a woven mat, grateful for the chance to stretch your legs and rub feeling back into your toes. The night air feels cooler now, the kind of chill that sneaks under your clothes and makes you wish for one more blanket, or maybe a very warm cup of tea. Above you, the zodiacal glow has shifted, tilting higher, thinner, almost like a candle being snuffed by the wind. As you sit there, you realize the glow isn't just poetic, it's practical. Traders, scholars, and wanderers across centuries have relied on this faint light as part of celestial navigation. It rises along the ecliptic, the same invisible highway that the sun, moon, and planets follow. So if you know how to read it, you know where the sky's great thoroughfare runs. That's not bad for a patch of dust most people today don't even know exists. You dig into a small pouch and pop a dried fig into your mouth, sweet and chewy, while your thoughts wander. Astronomers say that most of this dust is probably just leftovers, bits of comets trailing their way around the sun, and the occasional asteroid smashed into crumbs. But some still debate whether Earth itself adds to the mix, bleeding out particles from its upper atmosphere into space. It's like a cosmic littering problem, except you can't find anyone for it. And here's a quirky tidbit. In the 19th century, some astronomers believed the zodiacal light might actually be a glowing atmosphere of the sun, a literal solar appendage stretching out into space. Picture the sun with a sparkly tutu. It's absurd and kind of fabulous, but others weren't convinced, and the debate simmered for decades. Even today, scientists argue about how far the zodiacal dust cloud really extends. Some evidence suggests it reaches beyond Jupiter. Others think it thins out long before that. Nobody agrees, but you get the sense the dust doesn't mind. It just keeps drifting. You lean back, letting your head rest on a saddlebag, and the desert sky stretches over you like velvet. The Milky Way arches above, crisscrossed by satellites that wink like mischievous fireflies. You snort softly, thinking of modern astronomers trying to measure this ancient glow while dodging Elon Musk's latest string of orbital graffiti. It's hard to get good data when half the exposures have streaks running through them. The camels chew lazily nearby, jaws grinding in a rhythm almost as steady as your heartbeat. The stars glitter harder now, sharper, as if the night wants to show you just how much it has in reserve. You remember reading, or maybe someone told you, that in really dark conditions, zodiacal light can sometimes look so bright, people mistake it for dawn. Imagine crawling out of your tent, packing up all your stuff and realizing you've been tricked by cosmic dust. You'd never hear the end of it from your fellow travelers. The fire crackles as someone boils water, and the smell of mint tea drifts your way. You wrap your hands around the cup when it's passed to you, letting the steam brush your face. The warmth seeps into your palms, and for a moment you almost forget you're surrounded by endless sand. You take a sip, slightly, bitter but comforting, and glance up again. The glow is fading now, swallowed slowly by the horizon's deepening shadows. Astronomers, you think, would probably argue here too. Exactly how bright does zodiacal light get? Measurements vary wildly, and the human eye complicates things further. Some nights it looks vivid like a cosmic torch. Other nights it's barely a ghost of itself. And then, of course, there's the argument about how much interplanetary dust changes over time. Some say collisions and comet tails keep it replenished. Others argue it's steadily thinning, like an hourglass running out. No one agrees, but you like that uncertainty. It feels honest. After all, the sky's not there to give you neat answers. It's there to keep you wondering. You stretch your legs, yawning, while one of the traders jokes that if you stare too long at the glow, you'll see visions of treasure buried in the dunes. You chuckle politely, though you admit, it does feel like the kind of light that could whisper secrets if you were tired enough and the tea strong enough. Maybe tonight's secrets are just dust, planets, and starlight, but still, not bad for a night's entertainment. The caravan settles into silence, save for the occasional rustle of fabric or the low grunt of a camel shifting its weight. You lie back, arms folded under your head, and let your eyes trace the faint band of zodiacal light stretching upward. It looks thinner now, more fragile, as though a single breeze could erase it. Yet it has endured for millennia, seen by pharaohs, poets, and pilgrims. You're just the latest in an unbroken chain of dreamers craning their necks toward the same glow. Your guide murmurs something about the path of the planets, and you realize he's right. The zodiacal light runs along the ecliptic, the same highway that Mercury, Venus, and all the familiar wanderers of the night sky travel upon. Long before telescopes, desert traders used these lights, both the planets themselves and this dusty band, to align their routes. It wasn't GPS, but when your choices were limited to North Star or die in the dunes, you'd take what you could get. There's a mainstream astronomy fact here. The zodiacal cloud is densest near the sun. That's why you see it after sunset or before dawn when the angle is just right. But past midnight, the glow begins to thin, fading into the deeper sky. If you ever wondered why, it's because you're basically peeking into the densest part of the solar system's dust. Pancake. And yes, calling it a pancake is actually pretty accurate. It's flat, wide, and filled with crumbs. Delicious. You chuckle at the thought of astronomers using breakfast food analogies in their lectures, but they do often. Once you heard a professor describe Saturn's rings as cosmic cornflakes, which frankly ruined cereal for you for a week. Another called comets dirty snowballs, and suddenly snowball fights seemed far more violent. But even with these metaphors, there's still mystery. Some astronomers argue about whether this dust cloud is static or dynamic. Does it just sit there clumping and scattering like a teenager's bedroom? Or is it constantly replenished by fresh comet tails and asteroid collisions, making the zodiacal glow a kind of breathing, evolving phenomenon? You lean toward the second option. It feels more alive that way. But as usual, nobody's fully sure. One quirky tidbit surfaces in your mind. In some cultures, people once believed the zodiacal light was an omen. Medieval travelers sometimes called it the false dawn, thinking it foretold important events or divine messages. Imagine planning your week around a smear of dust in the sky. Then again, people still read horoscopes, so maybe humanity hasn't changed much. A gust of wind carries sand across the camp, hissing softly as grains skim over your mat. You pull your cloak tighter, shivering slightly. The desert never does. Things halfway, burning heat by day, bone-deep chill by night. Still, the cold has its perks. It sharpens the stars, makes them blaze like cold fire. Venus is particularly bright, hanging just above the horizon, a steady jewel. You remember, that zodiacal light is brightest when Venus is nearby, since that's where the dust cloud thickens. It's like the planet is showing off, dragging its own private glow stick into the sky. A trader near you points upward with a cracked finger, tracing the line of light. His voice is rough, but you catch the words, the dust of creation. That phrase lingers in your mind. Dust of creation, yes, that fits. Because every mote up there is older than any empire, older than pyramids or caravans. They're fragments from the solar system's chaotic youth, tiny fossils of fire and collision. You're basically watching cosmic antiques drift in slow motion, illuminated by a star 93 million miles away. Not bad for a free show. The glow stretches higher, fading into the Milky Way until the two nearly blur. Your eyes can't quite tell where dust ends and galaxy begins. Astronomers still argue about this too. How much of what we call zodiacal light is actually interstellar dust sneaking in from beyond the solar system? Could some of it be foreign, carried in from the vast gulfs between stars? If so, then what you're seeing isn't just local. It's a postcard from the universe. You sip the last of your mint tea, now lukewarm, and grin at your own sleep-deprived musings. Maybe it's the desert air, maybe it's the soft fatigue settling in your bones, but everything feels profound. You're sitting in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by silence and sand, and yet you're tangled in questions that stretch to infinity. It's ridiculous and oddly comforting. The camels grumble again, shifting closer together for warmth. You envy their nonchalance. They couldn't care less about dust or debate. They just want hay. Meanwhile, you can't stop staring upward, eyes watering slightly from strain. You blink, and for a moment the glow seems to pulse, like it's breathing with you. You laugh softly at the thought, imagination, exhaustion, or maybe the sky's own little joke, and just like that you realize you're hooked. The zodiacal light has become more than dust, more than a faint smear. It's a thread tying you to countless nights before and countless nights to come. You could fall asleep here, wrapped in starlight, trusting that the glow will still be waiting when you wake. You shift on your mat, letting the desert sand crunch softly beneath your shoulder. The zodiacal light has grown dimmer, retreating higher into the sky, and in its fading glow the stars feel sharper, more defiant. You catch yourself wondering, how many of those stars also have their own dusty halos, their own faint triangular glows invisible to your eyes from here. Maybe there are travelers out there, on some other world, staring upward at their version of a zodiacal light, wondering. The same about you. That thought lingers. How this faint shimmer ties you not just to Earth, but to the idea of countless skies. Astronomers have confirmed that dust disks are common around young stars. In fact, sometimes that's how new planets are discovered. Telescopes catch the starlight scattering off those dusty veils, hinting at worlds still coalescing. What you're watching above the desert isn't unique. It's a snapshot of a cosmic process that builds solar systems everywhere. You're staring at the echo of creation, still glowing faintly billions of years later. The trader who called it the dust of creation wasn't wrong. The poetic phrasing hides an uncomfortable truth. You're part of it too. Every atom in your body, your bones, your blood, the tired muscles in your legs, came from dust scattered and recombined through endless cycles of stellar birth and death. You're as temporary as those drifting grains, just arranged more elaborately for now. Strange how lying under the night sky can make you feel small and infinite at the same time. A camel groans again, snapping you briefly back to the human world. The others are dozing, heads tucked into scarves, their breath rising in pale clouds. The fire has gone out, leaving only embers that glow faintly red, echoing the shimmer in the heavens. You realize that the desert's silence isn't true silence at all. It's layered with subtler sounds. Wind teasing across dunes, distant shifting of sand, even your own pulse drumming gently in your ears. It's as though the world has tuned itself to a lower frequency, one that forces you to listen closely. As you gaze upward, another idea takes hold. Could ancient myths about sky fire, sky rivers, or luminous bridges have been inspired? At least, in part, by this faint light? People often speak of the Milky Way as a river of souls, but what if some of those stories began with the zodiacal glow? It's faint enough to feel like a secret, something shared among only the most attentive. Watchers of the night. Maybe shepherds in forgotten fields whispered about it. Priests misread it as divine. Sailors thought it a sign of safe passage. In the 19th century, European astronomers documented it with surprising obsession. Some even thought it might be a permanent ring of material orbiting the Earth, a sort of halo. That theory has long since crumbled, but it speaks to how desperate humans are to fold the unknown into familiar frameworks. We see a glow, we name it, we invent a story. If we can't explain it yet, we pretend we can. You smile at that. It's both arrogant and charming, a signature move of your species. Your eyes drift shut for a moment, but the desert cold nips at your face, pulling you back awake. You rub your hands together, trying to coax warmth back into your fingers. In doing so, you catch sight of the dust coating your skin from earlier in the day, fine grains, beige and glittering under starlight. And you laugh quietly, because here you are, gazing up at cosmic dust while literally covered in earthly dust. One reflects sunlight, the other sticks to your palms, but in essence they're both ancient, both stubborn, both proof that the universe never really stops making dust. You roll onto your side, resting your cheek on the woven mat, and let your gaze linger on the dim wedge of zodiacal light until it nearly blends with the background glow of the Milky Way. You could swear you see movement there, as though tiny motes are gliding, drifting imperceptibly. They aren't, not at a pace you could ever detect with your eyes, but the illusion feels real enough. The thought comforts you. The universe is never still. Even when it looks motionless, dust is circling, planets are drifting, stars are burning, and life. Life is always finding a way to notice. The night deepens. Somewhere behind you, a dog barks faintly from a distant encampment, carried on the wind. The zodiacal light is fading now, sinking into the background of stars. Soon, only the brighter constellations will remain, guiding you towards sleep. You feel the tug of drowsiness heavy in your limbs, but you fight it for just a few moments more. You want to remember this, the sight of a fragile glow made from nothing but dust and light, and yet, somehow, it feels like it explains everything. The desert turns colder as the hours stretch on. You pull the edge of your cloak tighter around your shoulders, though the fabric does little to block the wind that sneaks in from every direction. Overhead, The zodiacal light has nearly vanished, giving way to the full reign of the constellations. Orion stands proud, belt aligned like a row of bright campfires, while Taurus seems to lumber nearby, horns tilted toward the dark. The Milky Way arches across the sky like a pale scar, sharp and endless. For the first time tonight, you realize how much the zodiacal glow and the Milky Way resemble one another. Both are faint rivers of light, both are composed of countless tiny sources merging together. But one comes from stars, distant and eternal, while the other comes from dust, local and fleeting. The contrast feels oddly symbolic. Permanence and impermanence, eternity and ephemerality, side by side in the same sky. Ancient cultures surely noticed this. Babylonian scribes etched star maps on clay tablets, and though they were mostly concerned with the motions of planets, one can imagine them glancing at that wedge of light on quiet nights, wondering if it was part of some larger, celestial machinery. Later, Islamic astronomers in Baghdad wrote meticulous records of the heavens. A few mentioned faint glows that modern historians now suspect described the zodiacal light. To them, it was not just a curiosity, but a pattern, something woven into their efforts to understand how the universe was ordered. You find yourself smiling at that. The desert you're lying in is not so different from the deserts where they once gazed. The stars above you are the same stars they studied. The dust that scatters sunlight now may even include fragments older than their empires, older than Earth itself. There is a quiet comfort in continuity, in knowing that wonder doesn't fade with centuries, it just takes new forms. Your eyes follow the constellations one by one, tracing imaginary lines as though sketching them anew. You think about how these patterns were never universal. Each culture read its own stories into the night. What you call Orion was once a hunter, but to others, it might have been a crooked ladder, or a line of three sisters carrying baskets of grain. Perhaps the zodiacal light, too, bore many names now lost. Pale stairway, wandering fire, the road of ancestors. Myths rise and fall, but the dust keeps glowing, indifferent to what humans call it. The wind stirs again, this time carrying with it a faint smell of smoke from some far-off caravan camp. You close your eyes and imagine the travelers there, maybe warming their hands over a fire, maybe also glancing skyward in between jokes or songs. Even if they aren't speaking about the stars, they're beneath them, bathed in the same glow. For a moment the world feels small, stitched together by light and dust. When you open your eyes again, you notice that the zodiacal glow has nearly disappeared, swallowed by the thickening blackness before dawn. Soon, Venus will rise, heralding the morning. Astronomers call Venus the torchbearer of the zodiacal light, for it often gleams within that same triangle of faint shine. You wonder if anyone once mistook the two, believing Venus was setting fire to the dust, or that the dust itself gave birth to the planet. It's a fanciful image, but strangely soothing. You shift once more, sinking deeper into the mat. Your body grows heavier, more compliant to sleep. And yet, even as drowsiness pulls at you, your mind lingers on one final thought. Dust is supposed to be forgettable. It clings to corners, settles on shelves, disappears with a swipe of cloth. But here in the desert and here in the sky, dust becomes luminous, indispensable, eternal. In its stubbornness to vanish, it tells a story that is not boring at all, but endlessly quiet, endlessly patient. You let your breathing match the rhythm of the desert wind, steady, soft, circular. The stars blur as your eyelids drift lower. The last thing you remember is that faint triangle of light, fading, but not gone, whispering its dusty tale into the silence of your dreams. The horizon begins to soften with the faintest suggestion of dawn, but you still lie there, refusing to let go of the night. The desert sky has shifted. Constellations sink lower, and the zodiacal glow, once sharp, once so commanding, now seems to melt into the pale canvas of morning. You can almost hear it sigh, retreating as though it knows its moment is over. But not all is lost in this handoff between night and day. As you stare, you notice a shimmer along the horizon where Venus is climbing. It blazes so brightly, it feels unfair to call it a planet. It looks like a miniature sun, one so eager to announce itself that it leaps from darkness into your vision. For countless cultures, Venus was the bringer of dawn, the herald of change. And here it shares the stage with the vanishing zodiacal light, like a duet closing on the final chord. You might laugh at yourself for being dramatic, but it really does feel theatrical. Nature does curtain calls better than Broadway, and Venus, well, it knows how to steal the spotlight. Astronomers even joke that it's the drama queen of the solar system, with its thick, choking clouds of sulfuric acid and a surface hot enough to melt lead. Yet here, from Earth, it looks tender and welcoming, a reminder that appearances are quite literally deceiving. Somewhere in the back of your memory you recall a quirky fact. Zodiacal dust isn't evenly spread. It forms something like a lens-shaped cloud around the sun, densest near the ecliptic. Astronomers still argue whether much of it comes from comets shedding material as they orbit, or whether it's more from asteroid collisions grinding rocks into powder. Either way, it keeps replenishing, so the light doesn't fade out permanently. The sky's housekeeping, if you will, cosmic crumbs scattered along the sun's dinner table. You roll onto your side, propping your head on one arm, amused by the image. Imagine some galactic parent scolding, "Who left all this dust out here?" Meanwhile, Earth just drifts lazily through it, sweeping up particles, adding them to meteor showers. Every August the Perseids are born from this interplay, glowing streaks that remind you that dust is never useless, never wasted. Your ears catch the faintest new sound, the first chirp of a desert bird. Its voice is thin, almost brittle, as though it too is waking reluctantly. A caravan bell rings in the distance, muffled by the sand, and the camels grunt in protest. Even they know dawn means the journey resumes. And you, half wrapped in your blanket, realize that no matter how eternal the night sky feels, the world beneath it never stops moving. You glance upward one last time at the fading glow. There's a scholarly debate you find charming. Some insist zodiacal light was probably the very first thing early humans noticed about the night sky, even before constellations, because it's so large and diffuse. Others argue it must have gone ignored, dismissed as faint haze. Who's right? You suspect both. For some, the glow was the spark of wonder. For others, it was background noise. Humanity's attention has always been selective. The thought makes you chuckle softly. People can ignore the entire galaxy if they're too busy arguing over camel prices or firewood. Maybe tonight, somewhere else on Earth, someone is scrolling through their phone, unaware that the same dust glow is faintly visible above their head. Wonder is there, whether noticed or not. You sink deeper into this mix of humor and awe. The desert feels quieter now, waiting. The last stars near the horizon twinkle with the stubbornness of candles, refusing to be blown out. Venus keeps rising, bolder, brighter, as if to say, "Pay attention, I'm the main act now." The zodiacal light bows out gracefully, leaving only its memory, like perfume fading in the air after someone leaves the room. You close your eyes for a moment and you feel both the end of something and the beginning. Dust, light, planets, dawn. It all keeps cycling, repeating, outlasting every caravan, every sleepless wanderer, every listener drifting on the edge of dreams. And with that, you finally let your breathing slow, sinking not with the wind or the stars, but with your own body's patient rhythm. The sky can handle itself for now. The desert coolness softens as the first rays of sunlight touch distant dunes, yet you remain wrapped in your cloak, savoring the moments between night and day. The zodiacal light has long since faded, leaving a pale memory in the back of your mind, but the stars still linger, stubborn and shimmering faintly against the growing brightness. You notice the planets lingering too, especially Venus, which dominates the eastern sky, like a luminous sentinel refusing to be ignored. You let your thoughts wander to the cosmic mechanics behind what you've been watching. Zodiacal light, as astronomers confirm, is sunlight scattering off interplanetary dust. Simple, elegant, and entirely unsentimental. The fact that these particles are floating in near vacuum, colliding gently over millennia, and still managing to produce a soft glow is somehow reassuring. Even the universe has patience, and tonight, you've been lucky enough to witness a fraction of it. A quirky tidbit floats into your mind. The zodiacal dust is actually warmed by sunlight, to a toasty few hundred kelvins. Not enough to burn you. Thankfully, but in space, that's surprisingly cozy. Some scientists even joke that it's like a cosmic underfloor heating system, faintly warming the inner solar system. Astronomers still debate the distribution and size of these particles, whether they come mostly from comets, asteroids, or even Earth itself, and the uncertainty somehow makes them feel more alive. The caravan starts to stir, the low murmur of activity rising as traders prepare for the day ahead. You listen to the shuffle of feet, the clinking of water skins, and the distant bray of camels. Everything moves slowly at first, careful not to disturb the fragile quiet of dawn. You realize that this soft choreography mirrors the sky. The light fades gradually, the stars retreat, and yet nothing is rushed. Patience is built into the world. You catch a faint aroma of incense from a distant campfire, drifting with the morning breeze. It mingles with the faint scent of desert herbs and sand, creating a perfume you could never bottle. For a moment, the physical world and the celestial spectacle combine in a delicate harmony. Dust beneath your fingers, dust floating high above, both whispering secrets of persistence and eternity. A camel nudges you gently, reminding you that you exist here, in this moment, not just as a spectator of cosmic light, but as a living participant. The juxtaposition is strangely comforting. Cosmic dust and desert dust, both infinite in their own ways, both waiting for attentive eyes. You glance upward one last time before fully turning attention to the waking world. Venus gleams like a loyal companion, stubbornly bright, and the first hints of sun paint the dunes in soft amber. You inhale, savoring the quiet, the weightless calm of the moments just before movement begins. Even as humans stir, the sky remains vast, infinite, and patient. The faintest memory of the zodiacal light hovers at the edge of your vision, a gentle reminder that some wonders don't need to shout to matter. With a slow exhale, you let your shoulders relax, letting the desert's rhythm, the celestial whisper, and your own heartbeat align. The world is waking, but your mind lingers, suspended in a space where dust, light, and silence mingle. The sun climbs higher, painting the dunes in gentle gold, and the desert awakens fully around you. You stretch your legs, feeling the grit of sand shift beneath you, and marvel at how quiet everything still feels despite the growing heat. Night's zodiacal light is gone, replaced by a bright, steady sky. But in your mind, the memory lingers, like the aftertaste of mint tea, comforting, soft, and slightly sweet. Your thoughts drift to the mechanics behind the glow you've just witnessed. The zodiacal light exists because tiny particles, microscopic, remnants of comets and asteroids, scatter sunlight across the inner solar system. The fact that such tiny grains can produce a visible band of light stretching hundreds of millions of kilometers never ceases to amaze. Astronomers still argue about how long these grains survive in orbit before succumbing to collisions or solar radiation. The uncertainty adds a quiet thrill, as if you've glimpsed a secret that only patience allows. You chuckle softly at a quirky fact. Some of these particles, after wandering for thousands of years, eventually fall to Earth as meteoritic dust. In essence, each speck of zodiacal light carries a chance of touching your hand or sneezing in your hair, though in unimaginably tiny amounts. It's cosmic dust, literally raining down on the planet while you sip your tea. Astronomers debate how much of this dust is terrestrial versus extrasolar, a discussion as subtle as the light itself. The caravan comes alive, muted chatter, and the shuffle of fabric rising in the morning. You notice that even with movement, the desert retains a particular hush, a slow rhythm that mirrors the cosmos above. Sand slides gently down the sides of dunes, wind gusts lift grains, and a few birds stir, their calls barely louder than a whisper. It's a calm that you suspect would surprise anyone used to city mornings. Your eyes drift upward again, noting the soft halo of sunlight near the horizon where zodiacal light once reigned. You remember the ancient stories, Babylonians, Arabs, and medieval scholars, all of them gazing at this same glow, interpreting it in ways that made sense for their time. Perhaps it was a divine sign, perhaps a guide for travelers, perhaps simply a faint celestial smear that inspired quiet contemplation. All interpretations feel valid tonight as you sit wrapped in your cloak, sipping warm tea. You notice Venus shining proudly, higher now in the morning sky, like a celestial herald, signaling that the day is officially starting. Some astronomers suggest the planet's brilliance can help gauge the dust cloud's thickness, though measuring it requires meticulous care and patience. Others argue that seasonal changes in interplanetary dust density skew readings. You admire the patience required to untangle these subtle, delicate phenomena, a patience not unlike yours, lying under a waking sky, letting the world unfold slowly around you. You take a deep breath, inhaling the faint aroma of sand, herbs, and distant fires, and allow yourself a final glance at the ghost of the night's zodiacal glow. Though it has vanished, it's left, an impression stronger than mere light, a sense of connection, continuity, and wonder. You think briefly of the vastness beyond the solar system, where other stars likely have their own dust halos, unseen, whispering in the dark. The universe is full of quiet things, waiting for someone patient enough to notice. By mid-morning, the desert is fully awake. The sand ripples under the sun's growing warmth, and the camels begin their slow shuffle toward the next oasis. You remain seated for a while, letting your cloak fall open as your skin warms in the gentle sunlight. The night's faint celestial glow has disappeared completely, but its memory lingers, as if the desert itself remembers what passed above. Your mind drifts back to the origins of that ephemeral light. The zodiacal glow, scientists confirm, is the result of sunlight scattering off countless dust grains orbiting near the plane of the solar system. What you saw last night is effectively a thin, pancake-shaped veil of tiny rocks and silicate particles. Despite its faintness, it stretches across the sky, a persistent reminder of the countless collisions and comet tails that have left their mark over millennia. Astronomers still argue about the relative contributions of comets versus asteroids in maintaining the brightness. It's a debate that will probably continue as long as humans look up. You can't help smiling at a whimsical fact. Some of these dust grains are older than Earth itself. That means a tiny fraction of what you glimpsed. In the night sky has been orbiting the sun for longer than any mountain, longer than any tree, longer than any civilization. Imagine that, your eyes tracing ancient particles, each silently narrating a story billions of years old. The thought is both humbling and strangely comforting. The caravan stirs around you. Traders call out to one another, arranging supplies, and feeding camels, their voices low but persistent. A nearby fire crackles faintly, sending thin spirals of smoke toward the blue sky. Even as the desert moves, there's a slow rhythm, a continuity that mirrors the cosmos. The dust above, the sand below, the caravan in between, they all participate in patterns beyond your immediate control. You feel a kind of kinship with them, part of the same slow, patient unfolding. Your gaze lifts occasionally, catching the faintest shimmer along the ecliptic where zodiacal light once lingered. The line is gone, but astronomers remind us that its influence persists. It scatters sunlight subtly, warming the inner solar system, contributing in tiny ways to meteor showers and interplanetary dust dynamics. You imagine yourself as one observer, among many across history, quietly documenting a transient spectacle, recording what few notice but all eventually forget. Another detail floats into your mind. Some cultures believed zodiacal light marked the path of spirits or ancestors. Whether true or merely poetic, the symbolism seems fitting tonight. You picture caravans of the past, nomads under the same faint glow, reading omens or simply enjoying the quiet. And you, sitting in this familiar yet timeless setting, are part of that lineage, a sleeper in a long chain of stargazers tracing dust and light with patient eyes. As the sun rises higher, you shift slightly on your mat, allowing warmth to seep into your muscles. The desert, the caravan, the distant mountains, they all glow softly in the early light. The night's celestial whispers fade, replaced by the rhythm of the living world. Yet the memory of the zodiacal glow, faint and patient, remains etched. In your mind, a gentle reminder that wonder doesn't demand fanfare. It just waits for you to notice. The sun climbs steadily, casting long shadows across the dunes. You roll onto your side, letting the warmth seep into your tired muscles, and watch the desert stir. Camels move with deliberate slowness, their hooves whispering over sand that remembers centuries of footsteps. Traders exchange quiet words, their voices low and measured, almost blending with the breeze. The desert feels alive, patient, and infinitely slow, perfect company for someone just leaving the night sky behind. Your thoughts drift back to the faint wedge of light that lingered above you just hours ago. The zodiacal glow is gone now, but it wasn't just light. It was sunlight interacting with dust, scattered across millions of kilometers, shaping a display that's at once transient and ancient. Astronomers still argue about its origin. Is it primarily cometary debris or mostly asteroid fragments? Some insist that interstellar dust contributes too, and though the quantity is tiny, the debate itself highlights how complex the inner solar system really is. You smile thinking about how much effort humans expend to understand what is, at its heart, just fine grains of space rock. A quirky fact drifts through your mind. In the 19th century, some astronomers observed zodiacal light and worried it might be an atmospheric phenomenon, not cosmic at all. So imagine dedicating your life to proving something that turns out to be both simpler and more astonishing than you expected. That's the thing about the night sky. It humbles and surprises, even when you think you've measured it. The caravan shifts again, the low rumble of camels blending with the soft crunch of sand. You watch a trader pour water into a small tin cup, and you think of how essential the Earth's rhythm is for observing the heavens. Without these quiet, enduring moments in the desert, you wouldn't have witnessed the glow at all. It's a reminder that context matters. The universe shows itself differently depending on where you stand, how long you wait, and how willing you are to notice. Venus glimmers faintly now, a stubborn bright point in the daylight sky. The planet has a thick atmosphere that traps heat like an invisible blanket, a fact that makes it inhospitable yet fascinating. Astronomers debate whether Venus may once have hosted oceans, long before it became a scorching inferno. You imagine a parallel world, bright and alive, dust swirling around it in ways you can't see but can only guess at. The thought is calming. Another reminder that the universe is teeming with stories, most of them quiet, hidden and patiently waiting. The sand under your fingers feels warm now, grains slipping and sliding as if echoing the motions of dust in space. It's strange, comforting even, to recognize the tiny connections. Earth dust, cosmic dust, sunlight scattering, the faint glow that guided your gaze hours ago. You lean back, stretching slowly, and let yourself drift, body relaxed, mind orbiting, the soft mysteries of the sky. The desert air is still cool in your shadow, carrying faint scents of herbs and distant fires. You think about ancient observers, scribes tracing their symbols, recording planetary positions, noticing faint glows like the one you saw. They didn't have your comfort or your blankets, but they did have patience, and maybe that's enough. The desert whispers around you, carrying echoes of the universe's slow, enduring rhythm. The morning has fully arrived, yet you linger on the mat, letting the desert warmth seep through your cloak and into your skin. The wind is gentler now, carrying faint scents of sagebrush and distant fires. You breathe slowly, letting the rhythm of the desert sync with your own heartbeat. Above, the bright blue sky has fully claimed the heavens, but your mind drifts back to the faint glow of zodiacal light that once graced this very space. It's fascinating how such a subtle phenomenon can leave such a lasting impression. Astronomers confirm that the zodiacal light is caused by sunlight scattering off dust particles in the plane of the solar system, yet its presence remains delicate and often overlooked. Some of these particles are mere microns in size, tiny enough to be invisible individually, yet together they create a soft, luminous veil. Scholars still debate the precise balance between cometary debris and asteroid fragments contributing to this glow, a reminder that even simple observations hide complex stories. You chuckle quietly, thinking of a quirky fact. The zodiacal light is sometimes called the false dawn because it appears before the true sunrise, often fooling early risers into thinking day is breaking. Imagine millennia of travelers waking up to see a pale glow, wondering if the sun had sneaked out of bed early. In a way, it's a cosmic prank, gentle and poetic, one that has persisted unnoticed by most. The caravan stirs in the distance. You hear the shuffle of fabric, the soft bray of camels, and the occasional muted call of a trader. Even as life resumes, the desert maintains its patient rhythm, reminding you that both terrestrial and celestial patterns follow slow, deliberate tempos. The contrast is comforting. The stars fade, but the world below continues, steady and predictable, waiting for attentive observers. Venus shines high now, dominant in the morning sky. Its brilliance can outshine nearly all stars, a fact that has long captured human imagination. Astronomers debate whether Venus's thick reflective clouds were ever more hospitable in the planet's distant past, or if it has always been a torrid world cloaked in acid clouds. You imagine tracing its path across the sky, silent and unwavering, like a guardian of the inner solar system. Your fingers brush the sand, fine and warm, recalling the cosmic dust that floats in the solar plane. Both forms of dust, earthly and celestial, remind you of continuity. Matter cycles endlessly, whether falling as meteorites or shifting in dunes. You allow yourself to imagine ancient scribes lying under similar skies, tracing constellations, watching faint glows, and writing down what they noticed. Their wonder, preserved in clay and parchment, resonates with your own, spanning centuries of patient attention. The desert and sky blend into a quiet meditation. Your eyes grow heavy as you think about the delicate, almost invisible forces shaping both worlds. Light scatters, dust drifts, stars persist, and life, human, camel, or otherwise, continues its measured pace. You lean back, letting the sun's warmth anchor you while your mind floats among distant particles and fading glows, suspended in timeless observation. By late morning, the desert heat has risen noticeably, yet a gentle breeze keeps the air breathable. You shift slightly on your mat, feeling the warm grains of sand slip beneath you, and notice the caravan is now fully awake. The traders move, with careful deliberation, preparing camels, checking water skins, and murmuring quietly among themselves. There's a rhythm to their actions, echoing the silent patterns of the sky you observed hours earlier. Your mind drifts back to the celestial spectacle of the previous night. The zodiacal light, so faint yet pervasive, remains vivid in your memory. Scientifically, it is sunlight scattering off interplanetary dust along the ecliptic plane, a band of faint light stretching across the sky. The phenomenon is subtle and ephemeral yet persistent, reminding you that even tiny particles can produce awe-inspiring effects. Astronomers still debate the exact contributions from comet tails versus asteroid collisions, and whether interstellar dust plays a minor role, a question that keeps skywatchers quietly occupied for decades. You smile at a quirky tidbit. In the early 20th century, some observers attempted to photograph zodiacal light using large glass plates, only to find it often eluded detection, disappearing, as if shy. Imagine dedicating hours in a chilly desert night, waiting for something so subtle, so ethereal, and feeling both triumph and mild frustration when it appeared only fleetingly. Patience, it seems, is the cosmic prerequisite. The caravan's camels shift under the rising sun, their hooves pressing into the sand in soft, rhythmic thumps. Traders adjust blankets and supplies with almost musical precision. It's a terrestrial reflection of the slow, deliberate movements of dust particles in space. Just as the caravan progresses across the dunes, the zodiacal dust drifts along its orbital path, indifferent to human observation, but essential in shaping the faint glow you admired. Venus continues to dominate the morning sky, a stubbornly bright sentinel in the deepening daylight. The planet's thick reflective atmosphere scatters sunlight effectively, making it appear almost impossibly luminous from Earth. Astronomers still debate whether early Venusian conditions could have supported liquid water, a subject that inspires both scientific inquiry and imaginative speculation. You picture yourself tracing its path with a finger in the air, a cosmic game of connect the dots that transcends centuries. The scent of incense, faint smoke, and warm sand mingles in the air, and you allow yourself to notice small details. The ripple of dunes, the soft murmur of voices, the play of sunlight on grains of sand. Each element reflects a principle you observed above. Even the tiniest, most overlooked things, dust, light, movement, contribute to the overall harmony. And as you watch, a sense of continuity settles in. The universe, vast and patient, continues to perform its subtle symphony, and you, lying quietly in the desert, are fortunate enough to witness it. You close your eyes briefly, letting the warmth and quiet seep in, realizing that the fleeting glow of zodiacal light, though gone, has left a lasting imprint. Its memory, like soft desert wind, lingers in the edges of perception, a gentle whisper that even the smallest elements in the cosmos have their place, purpose, and quiet beauty. The afternoon sun climbs higher, casting the dunes in warm golden light, and you remain seated, letting the heat filter through your cloak while the desert hums softly around you. The caravan moves steadily, camels plodding in unison, and the distant mountains appear hazy, as if softened by the heat. You take a deep breath, the air carrying faint aromas of sage, dry sand, and distant fires, and you feel the rhythm of the desert synchronize with your own pulse. Your mind drifts back to the faint glow of the zodiacal light from the previous night. It's incredible to think that countless dust particles, each no larger than a grain of sand, scattered sunlight in such a way that it painted the sky with gentle luminance. Astronomers continue to debate the origins of these particles. Are they primarily remnants of comets, debris from asteroids, or perhaps some contribution from interstellar dust? The fact that such tiny matter can create a visible effect across millions of kilometers of space is both humbling and quietly comforting. You remember a quirky observation. Early astronomers noted that the zodiacal light sometimes appears more vivid after volcanic eruptions, when fine dust is lofted into the atmosphere. It's as if Earth itself occasionally adds its own brushstrokes to the cosmic canvas. Scholars still argue about the precise mechanisms of this enhancement, but it's a delightful reminder of the interconnectedness between our planet and the larger solar system. The caravan's gentle motion, the creaking of leather straps, and the soft murmur of voices mirrors the slow, deliberate movement of dust in space. You watch the camels kneel and rise, their rhythm echoing the timeless drift of particles that created the glow you observed. Even the seemingly mundane actions, the traders measuring water, adjusting blankets, sharing quiet words, feel imbued with the same kind of slow, patient beauty you saw in the sky. Venus, now fully risen, gleams above the horizon, a bright, steady point in the deepening afternoon light. Its clouds reflect sunlight so efficiently that the planet seems almost impossibly bright, a cosmic lantern. Astronomers debate whether early Venus might have hosted liquid water or even transient conditions favorable to life, though the thick acidic clouds make the surface inhospitable today. You imagine ancient stargazers tracing its path, recording its brilliance and finding in it both a guide and a wonder. Your fingers brush against the warm sand, drawing invisible lines as though mapping constellations beneath your hands. The desert and sky seem to converse in whispers, grains shifting like cosmic dust, sunlight scattering like a gentle haze, the caravan moving as if in time with celestial rhythms. Even as the world warms and the day progresses, the memory of the zodiacal light endures, a quiet emblem of patience and subtlety. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling the sun's warmth, the sand's texture, the soft murmur of the caravan, and the echo of starlight long gone. The universe, vast and silent, continues its work, dust drifting, light scattering, planets orbiting, and you, seated quietly in the desert, are a witness to its gentle persistence. The late afternoon stretches languidly across the desert, turning the sand into waves of soft amber. You lie back on your cloak, feeling its warmth seep into your muscles as the sun begins its slow descent toward the horizon. The caravan moves steadily, camels plodding in a gentle rhythm that seems almost synchronized with your own breathing. Traders murmur quietly, adjusting supplies, their voices blending with the whisper of the wind and the subtle shifting of the dunes. Though the zodiacal light has long faded, its memory lingers in your mind like a soft brushstroke across the sky. That ethereal glow, created by countless tiny dust particles scattering sunlight, is a reminder that the universe operates in quiet, patient ways. Astronomers still debate whether most of these particles originate from comets, asteroid collisions, or even distant interstellar dust, and the ongoing discussion adds a touch of mystery to something so delicate and transient. You smile at a quirky detail. In some cultures, zodiacal light was interpreted as a path for spirits, a soft glow connecting the earthly to the celestial. Whether true or not, the idea resonates tonight, reinforcing the notion that the cosmos has always inspired reflection and gentle wonder. You imagine travelers from centuries past tracing this light with careful eyes, letting its soft brilliance guide or inspire them through the night. Venus continues to shine in the late afternoon sky, its thick atmosphere reflecting sunlight so efficiently that it seems to hold its own against the brightening day. Astronomers debate whether the planet may once have harbored liquid water, though its current state is hostile and searingly hot. Still, from your perspective, it is a steadfast companion in the sky, a luminous reminder of the solar system's persistent rhythms. The caravan begins to settle for a brief rest, camels kneeling gracefully as traders adjust their loads. You notice the warm sand under your fingertips, shifting in subtle patterns reminiscent of the dust clouds above. Tiny details, the ripple of dunes, the faint aroma of herbs and fires, the quiet conversations, reflect the same delicate, patient beauty you observed in the night sky. The world feels interconnected, each element part of a slow, enduring pattern that transcends immediate perception. You close your eyes, letting the warmth and quiet wrap around you. The sun dips lower, painting long shadows across the sand. You think of the zodiacal light, ephemeral yet enduring in memory, and how even the faintest phenomena can inspire awe and reflection. Dust, light, planets, and the patient rhythm of the desert converge into a gentle meditation, a final whisper of cosmic and terrestrial wonder before the day transitions fully. The caravan murmurs fade, the desert hums softly, and you allow your breathing to synchronize with the subtle rhythms of the universe. Everything continues. Particles drift, light scatters, camels plod, traders murmur, and you, resting in the desert, are part of that timeless, quiet observation. The sky, once glowing faintly with zodiacal dust, has returned to its vast, empty serenity, leaving only a lasting impression of gentle patience. Word count, 197, wind down. The sun continues its slow descent, softening the colors of the dunes into muted shades of amber and rose. You feel the heat gradually leave your skin, replaced by the desert's gentle coolness, and the caravan's movements become even more subdued. Each sound, each motion, drifts around you like a slow, measured melody. The memory of the zodiacal light, though vanished, persists as a quiet echo, a faint glow etched in your mind. You breathe deeply, allowing the desert air to fill your lungs, and notice how each tiny grain of sand, each ripple in the dunes, mirrors the slow motions of dust, particles in space. The connections between Earth and cosmos, between what is seen and unseen, become almost tangible in this moment. The world feels vast, patient, and infinitely gentle. Venus, though now high in the sky, begins to pale against the evening's softening light. Its presence reminds you that celestial rhythms persist quietly, unaffected by the passage of human time. Dust, light, and planets continue their orbits, undisturbed, while you sink deeper into relaxation. The universe does not rush, and you too can simply exist in its patient embrace. Allow your thoughts to drift, unhurried. Recall the caravan, the warm sand, the subtle scents, the soft wind, and the faint glow of the zodiacal light that guided your gaze. The day fades gently, and with it comes a sense of calm completion, a quiet assurance that everything continues in its natural rhythm. You feel your body unwind, your mind quiet, and a tender smile spreads as your awareness blends with the gentle pulse of the world around you. Now let your eyelids grow heavy, your breathing deepen, and surrender to the tranquil flow of the desert and sky. Remember that the universe, in all its patience and subtle beauty, is always waiting, always serene, always present as you drift into restful sleep.